This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
I'm Kevin Thompson. I'm Chubray from Return of the Jedi. You're listening to the Nerf Herder Council.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder.
You can't use that word. Only we can use that word.
Weesa back.
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate, featuring your hosts, JT. This episode of the podcast is turning into a goddamn episode of Nova. AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea, and then it just fails in execution.
Steve.
Show me on the doll where the last Jedi touched you.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we're back from our summer vacation and we asked the question, if Rogue One was a trilogy, would public perception of the Disney era of Star Wars change?
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. With me are AJ and Steve, and after a nice little summer vacation there for a bit, we are back.
Let's say, do we have to reintroduce ourselves?
Oh, God, yeah.
Right.
Welcome to the first episode.
We're back to episode 1. Damn it! There went those other 100 and whatever.
Those were all test runs, and we still suck at it.
Like 4 years worth of dry runs.
We almost got it.
Right? So how was your time off, everybody? I myself enjoyed it. It was cool. I actually had a couple weekends off of the band the last 2 weeks, so I literally just got to hang out with the wife and go, see the sights in Cleveland and do a bunch of cool stuff. I went to 2 Browns practices and the scrimmage. That was fun. Almost adopted a puppy. I narrowly managed to avoid that one.
I purposely picked up one of the puppies that was already in the adopted bin. Purely to make it an easier decision for myself.
Yes. Hopefully it was a little Merle Chihuahua Beagle mix that was in there, because that's the one that I was just about to adopt and then decided I think I went
at least 1 or 2 days before you went. I went that Friday. So
which Friday? The 20th?
The first Friday. So
the 26th. Okay. Yeah, I went that Saturday the 27th, and then I went last Friday on the 2nd.
Depending if that puppy got picked up yet or not, maybe.
Well,
I like to think somebody left with that little guy that day.
Yeah. So. The way it was going, man, it was like we walked in right at 10, and there was already 8 people walking out with puppies. I mean, they were not screwing around. So
we were there 10 minutes before practice started, and it was a mob scene there. It was crazy.
People love it, man. People love it. So
surprisingly enough, Roland, I mean, this is way off topic of our podcast. Roland loved that giant inflatable thing in the back, the little with the
kids area. Yeah.
I thought there was no way my little 3-year-old autistic son was going to have anything to do with that. He dove straight into that stupid air tunnel and went flying up the ladder and screaming down the slide. I'm like, okay, good job, buddy.
Went home and ordered a bounce house on Amazon.
Right. Yeah, right.
Stuck in the backyard. So you went on vacation, didn't you?
Yes, we went in enemy territory. We were in Pittsburgh for a couple days.
What'd you go there for?
And we went to go to Kennywood.
Oh, all right.
It was all right.
Still
argued with my daughter for 2 days over the fact that she didn't care that it was a Steelers roller coaster. She just wanted to go on the cool new roller coaster. And I'm like, you're not going anywhere near the damn thing. I don't
That's
care
good
how new it
parenting.
is. I'm like, we're not walking anywhere near the stupid thing. It's bad enough I have to look at it all day in the park.
See, if you paid the price for going to Pittsburgh, man. That's why I avoid that town.
Yeah.
I'm a Browns fan. I'm a Clevelander. That is, as you said, enemy territory.
And I also got yelled at by my wife by dry heaving in the car as we drove by, and I saw Heinz Field to my left, almost getting in a car accident by fake throwing up in the car. She got like offended by it. I'm like, calm down. What's wrong with you?
What sort of bodily reaction do you have to seeing Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium? This is natural. So what did you do, AJ?
I ended up in Las Vegas, actually, which that was like a crazy ass 5 days, let me tell you.
You ended up on stage twice with Aerosmith.
Yes. Well, you make it sound more glamorous than it is because there were actually tickets available to do exactly that. But
that doesn't matter. That's like,
there is actually a Star Wars tie-in, though. I was at a THX certified concert twice. And let me tell you, THX concerts blow everything else out of the water ever.
Really?
It is amazing.
Do they play the little sounder at the beginning of the
Yes.
concert? Oh, really? Okay.
That's awesome.
Yes, they do.
I was just being a chooch there thinking there was no way that they were actually going to do that, but okay.
Nice.
The other benefit about being on stage is they hand you an iPod that's tied directly into the soundboard. So you get earbuds because you're behind the speaker wall, so the sound's not coming at you, it's going away. So you get a perfect soundboard mix, THX certified, in your earbuds that you get to keep.
Nice.
So I got free top quality earbuds out of this, and I was like, oh, thank you, George Lucas, for the beautiful concert sound.
I would love to hear a concert with that kind of audio.
Oh, it was incredible.
It's the only thing to me, though, being a musician, I would hear like every little mistake. I'd be like, oh, man. But,
That happens.
Yeah.
But it was Aerosmith, and hearing Steven Tyler going live like that is all those little imperfections are exactly what makes it so cool.
Yeah, that's definitely rock and roll. Like I actually went to 2 concerts last week. I saw Slash on Thursday. It was awesome. That concert, I got to say, I saw the greatest live guitar solo I have ever seen. He has a song called Wicked Stone, which is a really good tune. And he went into this thing at the end, it's just the band's jamming and he's just soloing, and it had to be 10 minutes. And it went from, oh man, this is great, to, man, it's getting kind of long, to, holy God, is this amazing? It was seriously like, I turned to our buddy Aiken and our jaws were just like dropped, like, oh my God. Like it was that good.
So after all the Dream Theater and Van Halen shows you've been to, Slash is the guy that blew your mind.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
crazy to say. And then vocally, on Sunday, I went to see Heart, and watching Ann Wilson, who's, I think, 67 years old, and just nailing every high note still. You're like, what the hell? It was so awesome. So a lot of music in my downtime, a lot of concerts I played, and a lot of concerts I went to see.
Nice. Cool.
So,
Well, it was a good use of the time anyway, because it's kind of light on Star Wars news at present.
Yeah.
We actually had that contingency plan, because the whole hiatus started because we were going to be recording the night I was flying back. I was supposed to be back 2 days earlier from Las Vegas, but my flight got canceled, and then we decided to go to another Aerosmith concert. And then we decided
Priorities.
And then we
Yes.
just, we were like, okay, look, San Diego Comic-Con is happening. We need to be on like high alert. If something comes out, like new trailer or anything noteworthy, we're gonna get together and we're gonna do a show about this, right? And what came out? The Sith Trooper.
yeah.
Like, what is Star Wars doing right now? Why is there no news? We've only got Resistance Season 2, Clone Wars coming back, The Mandalorian, and The Rise of Skywalker all coming out in the next 4 months, and there's nothing new.
There's nothing on any of it. The big news is that Disney Plus, you can get a bundle for $12.99 a month with ESPN Plus and Hulu. There's your news.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly it lately.
So
There's that, and the fact that apparently there's some Galaxy's Edge videos, since they're opening in Disney World later this month, that if you watch the videos, you can see the Imagineering working on what they're assuming is a scrapped ride that was going to be like a simulator VR thing where you could ride a dewback. But
That doesn't sound very exciting.
like it was, I'm sure it was going to tie into something else, but you could see the guy sitting on the little ride vehicle and the screen in front of him. So they're like, oh, well, that was a scrapped Galaxy's Edge thing.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm really trundling across the desert.
The highlight is the end when a stormtrooper comes on screen and holds up a little thing and goes, "Look, sir, droids." Son of a yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess the one good thing is that Disney Plus comes out like the
November 12th.
November.
yeah. So that week I'm actually sending my wife to Florida. Her father is spending November in Florida, and she wanted to go see him. So I took one show's worth of pay and bought her a plane ticket, and they're going to watch the Browns and Steelers that Thursday night. Well, the day after that is when Jedi Fallen Order comes out. So while she doesn't really care about watching The Mandalorian too much, so while she's out of town that Friday,
I'm pretty sure you can still get an annulment. Disillusionment or
she
something.
loves Star Wars. It's just she hasn't seen any footage from it, so she doesn't want to watch the grainy crap on YouTube. So that Friday, I'm gonna get home from work. I'm gonna get some takeout food because I don't want to cook. It's gonna kill my bachelor time, and I'm gonna watch The Mandalorian, and then I'm going to get some nice scotch. And I'm gonna sip, and I'm gonna play Jedi Fallen Order. I'm gonna have a total Star Wars nerd night.
Nice.
Question right off the bat, because I haven't paid enough attention to it. The Mandalorian, is that going to be released full season,
No.
or is that one of the
Week by
weekly
week.
release thing? Okay.
All of their stuff is week by
I'd say
week.
it seems
I think.
like all of it's going to be week by week.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just reinventing cable online. That's all.
Yeah, it's worth it to me because the Marvel shows look like they'll be pretty cool. We've already talked.
Half of the stuff that's on Disney Plus is all part of Phase 4 now, so
Yeah.
you need to know what the hell it is, or you're not going to know what's going on in
Yeah.
the MCU anymore.
They said the shows will directly affect the MCU. So
That's-
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just stays out of its way, but this is actually going to tie in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be cool.
Side note, the only thing that seems weird about that is the animated series. It's the only one that's kind of like,
Which one's animated?
what if?
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Does that that doesn't tie into the thing though, does it? I thought that was just kind of like alternate storylines that like what if this
I mean, it's
happened type of
announced
thing.
in Phase 4. I would assume it's always one big story, so I would assume it has something to do with the grand picture there. Who cares?
I don't know. But
Even Star Trek has a cartoon coming out that's official canon. So, I mean, come on.
yeah. But yeah, so that's what I'll be doing that Friday. Watching The Mandalorian and playing Jedi Fallen Order.
Nice.
And won't have to worry about waking my wife up at 2 a.m. when I get up to take a piss because the stairs creak and the door's loud.
Right.
So
I worry
that'll
about
be
that
good.
every time I play video games, like 3 a.m. I try to go upstairs and just sure enough, wake my wife up every single time.
It sucks,
Like
man.
no matter how quiet I try to be, it's like go learn how to sleep, damn it.
Yep.
Like, this isn't my fault. This is yours.
Yeah, I'm busy. I'm like putting my feet on the edges of the steps
Right.
so that they don't creak, and then I'm pulling takes like 2
I
minutes to
know-
open the door.
I know which stair creaks the most, and I try to skip it going up. And then still, by the time I climb into bed, she's like, "What time is it?" Jesus Christ! Yeah,
Yep. That I've determined that when we buy a house in 2 years, that wherever the man cave is located, it has to have a bathroom in it or next to it that is not near the bedroom, so that I, when I have to pee, I don't have to dick around with trying to be all quiet. And everything. Exactly, you got it right there.
Buckets are cheap.
I don't even.
I would not be above that.
I don't even take my headset off. I get yelled at by my guys in my party all the time because they can hear me taking a leak. I'm like, whatever, deal with it, guys.
We're men up yours.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Disney, I wanted to pose a question to you guys. I was watching Rogue One again the other day, and I was perusing Twitter, and I see, there's pretty much that movie's universally regarded as the best of the Disney Star Wars films, at least from the comments that I see. It's usually that or The Force Awakens, which I completely disagree with, but
Right.
That's not the point of the discussion here. So Rogue One, because it's universally regarded as so original trilogy, and people seem to love it so much, and the Disney era, we'll call it, of Star Wars is it's very divisive. People deride it a lot. Do you think if they would have taken the story of stealing the Death Star plans, like take Rogue One, for example, if they would have split that into a trilogy and that would be the centerpiece of the Disney Star Wars, do you think that people would have a completely different idea of the Disney Star Wars era, we'll call it? Because I really kind of think they would.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you as much as we've had the conversation many times that I love the movie, but I never felt connected to anybody. If you gave me 3 movies worth of that stuff, my whole thought process is a 180. You give me 3 movies, then start to care about these characters and stuff, then I would feel a hell of a lot different about it.
Yeah. I was watching it as like, if there was more Saw Gerrera, like that character was just awesome. And the war scenes, if you had, some more of that in there, like I don't have a suggestion as to how you could split it into three movies.
Right.
Because my question then.
Yeah. I mean, well, they did fit it into one, but I mean, you could extend it. I mean, it's, like the Lord of the Rings, like we just have to dump a ring into a mountain. Okay. Well, here's 12 hours worth of movie.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you really only needed the beginning and end of that. You could have put whatever the hell you wanted in between all of it. Right.
So. Yeah. So, I mean, you could have put some stuff from Catalyst in there. I mean, as like a precursor, maybe.
They could have gave us that scene of the TIE fighter coming up that was in the trailer. That wasn't in the movie.
Well, that doesn't account for another 2 whole movies, but that's a real slow TIE fighter.
It could have went really slow.
That's like the whole 3rd movie.
Right.
God damn it, when's that thing going to get up there?
No, they could have shown more of Galen.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, all the things that he was doing behind the scenes, like, yeah. So, there's stuff you could have done there. Would it have changed anyone's impression? So they would have liked 3 movies instead of 1?
I mean, let's say that trilogy, all 3 movies had the same quality as the single movie Rogue One has. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think that there would be a whole lot less complaining online about Disney ruining Star Wars and all that stuff. And, it just that again, that movie seems to be universally the one that people accept the most. And it's not surprising because they say, oh, it's it's based on the original trilogy. It's in that era. And it does feel like the original trilogy. So, I mean, I guess it's not a surprise because it's the biggest complaint. Like all the people that, really hate the Disney stuff generally are the ones that just won't get over the fact that the goddamn original trilogy is, 40 years old or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it was an interesting thought that I had because you just have to wonder what would have happened if that would have been the trilogy instead of continuing the Skywalker trilogy. Which, I mean, eventually would have happened anyway, I suppose.
So you mean instead of doing 7, 8, 9, they just did Rogue One as a trilogy?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a very different idea.
Like, let's say that the Disney Star Wars era was the Rogue One trilogy and Solo, and you don't have the Force Awakens, you don't have the Last Jedi, you don't have the Rise of Skywalker. I mean, you can have those down the road, I suppose, but let's say those are the 4 movies that are out right now.
Well, new internet complaint then.
Okay.
What about the prequels? You're doing everything in the original trilogy.
Okay, see, he went to he went to right field. I was thinking left field because my first thought was people are going to complain that they're not continuing the Skywalker saga at that point.
Yeah.
No, I can see
it's so
JT,
bad that we always have to think about the negative part first.
Right? No, JT, I could see you decrying that. Like you love the prequels, unabashedly, and if everything Disney had put out to this point was all original trilogy era stuff, you'd be like, well, what the hell? If you're not going to either try something new, at least acknowledge all 6 of the movies instead of just the 3 that you like.
See, I think I might have thought about that. Like, okay, get over the original trilogy, but again, I love Rogue One so much that once I would have seen that first movie, again, if let's say like the first, second, and third Rogue One movies are all as good as Rogue One itself is right now, I wouldn't have worried about that complaint because I would have been like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it's a cool story that you want to know about. I mean, we've talked about it before. How do you get the Death Star plans? That's a cool story to tell.
Kyle Katarn, duh.
Who is that?
Or the umpteen other video games that all had the same premise.
Ah, okay. Okay.
You know how many times the Rebels have gotten those damn Death Star plans?
Only once now, because that's the only thing that's canon, damn
right? So I don't have to fight the damn Dianoga in the sewer. Hello Greeter did a whole video on that level, and I never realized what a pisser that thing was in Dark Forces until he reminded me of it.
Man, there are so many Star Wars video games that I don't know existed.
Yeah, that was like mid '90s. It was a
was that the PC one?
Yeah, it was on PC.
Where
FPS
you're in like
only,
the sewer or whatever, like the tunnels or whatever.
Yeah, basically, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
I actually saw that. I remember him talking about it. Like what a pain in the ass that
Yeah,
is.
it's just a meandering labyrinth, and there's no way to know where the hell you are. You just kind of stumble around until you memorize it.
Screw that.
You know how we say things are Nintendo hard because games used to just be completely aimless, and the only way to get through them was to read a walkthrough?
Yeah.
That's this.
Forget that, man. No. But yeah, I think there's so many things that they could have expanded on. You know, again, like more Saw Gerrera, more stuff with his band of, rebels. Again, you
The
brought
stuff
up
on Jeddah is right there.
Yeah, the stuff on Jeddah was great. Like you said, Galen Erso. I mean, build up like
Tarkin, Krennic, Galen, go.
Yeah, yeah, and I was about to say like you could build up like the Death Star, like how powerful it is, and build up the suspense, but it's like can't really say that because we already knew. It's not like we didn't know what the Death Star was and what it could do.
Right.
But
What is this now?
yeah. So, but I guess like for the characters,
They could have talked about like how they went back and forth on if that platform really needed a railing on the back of it or not.
those guys again, we really need insurance. But yeah. So I guess but I guess for the characters in the movie though, for the rebels, you could build that up to where they're like, oh my god, like what are they building, and the suspense, and then to find out like how the hell are we gonna combat this and or combat this. Sorry.
I mean, they've padded out that era of the timeline so much now, though. I mean,
Yeah.
to make 3 movies out of Rogue One, well, first off, because we know those other stories, or at least are aware of them, like Rebels, for example.
Yeah.
It's hard to picture all that stuff going into a movie, and then what would be left to tell in these other forms.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if this was probably part of the plan the whole time, is they had all these other supporting stories. They're like, that's a good book story. We're going to put that over here. And that'll work in a cartoon, but weird for a movie. So you try to pull it all in. It might be a little different experience. Because think of like, Ahsoka and Fulcrum and all that sort of stuff was in the movie.
Yeah.
That would be very different. Or they're doing these comics now, and they did the Age of Rebellion, and they had like Saw Gerrera stories, and they had the Chirrut and Bay's book and all that kind of stuff. If they put that all into the movie, is it just fluff then? Is it overkill?
Yeah. I guess
Like I picture it like this. Like The Hobbit was supposed to be 2 movies, which is already stretching it a bit. And then they made a 3rd movie because they just wanted another trilogy, and they wrote extra characters in. And
that was the appendix or whatever they based it off of, that 3rd movie. That was like, come on, man.
I mean, they invented that entire like chase of whoever the big bad troll ogre orc guy was. Never existed. That was a complete fabrication for the movie.
Yeah, I have to, like, not that this matters to this, but I don't remember the Hobbit trilogy at all. But
there's nothing to remember.
I mean, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I could tell you about everything. And I read The Hobbit a whole bunch of times and have not read the Lord of the Rings. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was thinking, the reason that I think it would have made such a difference in perception with Star Wars fans for Rogue One trilogy, as opposed to like what they're doing with the Skywalker saga right now. It's the actual writing, because I think even though it would be based in the original trilogy, and yeah, we've already done that, what it would do is the writing would be like the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, in that it was one story and they chopped it into 3 pieces. You had a beginning and an end, and they just chopped it into 3 pieces. What they're doing with the Skywalker saga right now seems like they're just reacting. Like they wrote The Force Awakens and then went, what do we do now? And then they did The Last Jedi, and they go, now what do we do? It's not, it doesn't seem like they had that one story. Like, here's Rey. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The original trilogy was, you got Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and it's the redemption of Darth Vader. So the prequels are, how does Anakin Skywalker become Darth Vader? Mm-hmm. So but
an overriding theme.
Yeah, exactly. And if they did a Rogue One trilogy, it would be, how did the rebels get the Death Star plans?
Good point. That's a very good point.
We do got to hold out a little bit until we see episode 9.
That's true.
Because maybe they did have exactly what I brought up earlier. We got, let's introduce Ray, and this is how it ends. Now, go.
Yeah.
Figure out everything in between there. I mean, until we see the end of the story, I mean, once we see episode 9, we might be able to sit back and go, oh, okay, so this is the whole arc. Okay.
Yeah.
But
And
as of right now, it seems like we can't figure where the hell they're going with it. But
yeah, and I completely agree with that, because I've always said too, like, the people that just bash on The Last Jedi, I'm like, just wait. Like, maybe episode 9 makes it make sense for you.
Star Wars loves its trilogies.
Yeah.
I just read a review of the new Thrawn book, and it's pulling a bunch of stuff from the first book.
Yeah,
Since
I
the second one kinda
purposely
went off on
avoided
its own.
I purposely avoided spoilers on that.
because I mean, good or bad,
no spoilers, but just like I said, it ties the original book in to kind of bring it all full circle.
Okay.
love, hate, good or bad. I do remember one of the first things I thought walking out of the theater of The Last Jedi was, that seems like a good middle movie. Like,
Yeah.
it started off meh, and then it ended in the middle of meh. So it's like, okay, it fits perfectly in the middle of 2 movies, it seems like.
Yeah.
So
I get worried because I'm in that thing where it's like I'm not reading spoilers per se, because nothing's really confirmed, but all these different articles are giving little tidbits, so it's kind of like you can see a potential like framework of what it might be about, or what things that might happen in episode 9, and it's the common factor is a lot of things where you're like, well, this has not been mentioned at all in 7 and 8. So it's kind of like, well, what? So what's that about? If these things really happen, and I won't say anything because I know you don't like spoilers and all that crap, but it's like, okay, it just doesn't seem. Again, it just seems like reactionary, rather than it was a set. Like 5 years ago or whatever, they wrote a story and said, okay, chop it into 3 pieces, and that's what we're gonna do. And I think that's and that's a huge complaint that a lot of people have. So if Rogue One, if they'd have said we're going to do a trilogy about how they get the Death Star plans, that I think would have been. I really think that public perception of the whole Disney era would be so much better, because it's.
I mean, I can see what you're saying, because if it would have been all original trilogy, yeah, you would have had the people complaining about no prequels or not extending after episode 6. But the fact that we did extend after 6 and then went back with Rogue One, you gave this giant broad spectrum of people to complain. And if you only introduced one and not the other, then it would have been one less thing for people to whine and complain about, because it all would have been hypothetical at that point.
Right. Yeah, I just think you see an inordinate amount of people saying like, oh, Disney, effed Star Wars and it's screwed up. Now Disney sucks. They ruined it.
And they're the same people that are going to have sunglasses on, their hoods pulled really tight while they go on opening night to episode 9.
Exactly.
No, I didn't see that piece of crap.
I didn't go. I did not go. No. But I mean, it's like when you look, I mean, as much as we didn't care for them, Resistance and Rebels mostly praise. People seem to love it. Both series.
Yeah.
Solo doesn't really get a lot of bad reviews. Obviously, as we're talking about, Rogue One people love. The novels have been pretty universally well accepted for the among the fans that enjoy reading that stuff. Like,
years from now, Solo is going to go down as one of the best movies. So the older it gets, the more people seem to come out of the woodworks and go, yeah, I finally sat down and watched it, and it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, that makes Solo 2 happen hashtag that, the Star Wars Newsnet guys did. That blew up, man. I mean, everybody did. I mean, the actors saw it, like Ron Howard saw it, you name it. And
that's a perfect Disney Plus project right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I love Solo, but it doesn't feel like it stands up to the spectacle that 7, 8, and Rogue One are.
Oh, right.
It's a perfect straight to streaming movie.
Yeah.
It's too big for a TV show. It's not necessary enough to be its own movie on the big screen. And especially with the production budget that streaming stuff gets these days anyway. I mean, you've got Will Smith and Adam Sandler, and like you got full big name A-list talent. Well, not Adam Sandler, but you got big name A-list talent doing like streaming movies now.
Yeah,
it's totally within the realm of possibility.
Not that Disney's going to need all the help, but that would still be a huge get to sit there and go, we got Solo 2 coming out over here.
See, I don't know. I think it's big enough in spectacle to do another movie.
Just because it did crap in the theaters makes me think if they are going to do it, it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be Disney Plus. They're just going to...
See, I think they could do it as a show, though. If you're going to do like an episodic show out of it, think of all the things you could do with Crimson Dawn. I mean, because you would bring in Jabba the Hutt, you'd bring in Boba Fett, you'd bring in Darth Maul. You don't want to cram all those characters into 1 2-hour and 20-minute movie.
Right.
That is perfect for an episodic show.
And Disney Plus isn't going anywhere, and we only have enough TV shows to basically go, a year?
Yeah.
2 years onto Disney Plus. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
And
so.
see, this ties back to your question about the Rogue One trilogy. If such a thing were to happen, we wouldn't need the Cassian series then. And the books and the comics and all the other stuff where those stories ended up living instead. From a purely business perspective, I'm guessing Disney might have looked at such an idea and said, you know what, we can make more money if we do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, but replace the Cassian series then with Solo 2. I mean, so you still have another show you could do.
Oh yeah, I mean, the galaxy's honestly limitless. I mean, pick it.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like, but like I was saying, like the cartoons have been pretty widely accepted. The books, you got the new Clone Wars coming out, which of course all the Clone Wars people are going to eat up. Really, the only real flashpoints have been really The Last Jedi and the segment of people like me who just don't care for The Force Awakens because they think it's a rehash of Episode 4.
Are you sure that's not just because they're a lightning rod? I mean, they're the biggest things they've put out.
No, well, yeah.
As soon as you call something episode anything, you're tying into the George Lucas legacy, and then you've got to stand up to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be the most polarizing thing that they do.
No, I agree with that. I just think if you look at the output as a whole, it's actually universally been accepted and people enjoy it. Yet, because, to your point, they are the biggest things, and because they catch the most crap, there's all these people saying, "Oh, Disney ruined Star Wars." Like, well, did they really? When everything else people pretty much really like.
Yeah,
I mean, so that's why it's like if people are looking to the movies as their guidepost as to what they think of Disney Star Wars in general, if the Rogue One trilogy had been made and was good as Rogue One the single movie, how different would we be seeing comments on the internet and everything? You know what I mean? Like it's
so it's like. Well, sorry, it's football season, guys. It's like the Cleveland Browns, where you had crap quarterback with basically the same roster, and then all of a sudden Baker comes in. Oh my God! All this other good stuff was around him the whole time. We just didn't have that one piece.
Yeah, that's a very good way to phrase it. Yeah.
So yeah, if the Skywalker saga films were better received, I think the Disney era as a whole would be well received.
Yeah, no, I completely, yeah. I mean, so
in fact, the other way around, the same way like a quarterback can make a bad team good. If those movies were kick ass and everything else was meh, people would still be saying, "Great job, Disney! You,
yeah, that's
aces."
That's true.
All those anthology movies, we kind of expected them to be crappy, but the episode ones were great. So.
Yeah, no, that's very true because those really are the centerpiece of the whole thing, like you said. So. I mean, so maybe my question is a little bit of an obvious one, I suppose, but it was something that was on my mind because watching Rogue One, I always go, man, this is amazing. And then I go online and there's people just crapping all over, Disney. I'm like, yeah, but they made this and they made Solo. It's like, that's awesome. And The Mandalorian, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if The Mandalorian sucks, I'm going to be so disappointed because I just can't help but get so excited for that. And believe me, I'm excited for episode 9, but I'm also nervous because of my experience with episode 7, but the Mandalorian is made by people that, it's not, they're not trying to do something, like J.J. Abrams is trying to do his version of Star Wars. Rian Johnson was trying to do his version of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Jon Favreau is like, no, Star Wars is this. We know it's this, and I'm going to do that. So it's kind of like it's more familiar. It's,
Between him and Dave Filoni finally getting to do a live action project, I mean, you don't have anyone better in your camp than those two guys.
yeah, there's just something about it that
Unless John Knoll wants to come in and do something.
oh yeah, I would love that. Like, and again, it could suck. And I'm probably just excited because I don't have anything to base it off of. Whereas with episode 9, it's like, okay, because J.J. Abrams did my least favorite Star Wars movie, I want it to be awesome. But I want the whole trilogy to end up being awesome. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be bummed out, for myself a little bit, but mostly for fans that were so invested in it, that it just had to be perfect. And if it's not perfect for them, it sucks that they'll be disappointed.
We're going into episode 9 to go back to AJ bringing up the football thing. Like, we're going into episode 9 like it's a sports team that we're rooting for.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah.
It's you watching a UFC fight and rooting for a guy or rooting for a football or a baseball team. Like, that's literally our thoughts going into the theater is our team going to win tonight or not?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, that's really how it is.
You're right. We're powerless over the outcome, but we're still going to take it personally.
Yeah. I want it to be good so bad. I'm nervous about it. Whereas I'm not nervous for The Mandalorian. And I'm not nervous for the Cassian Andor series. And, I guess maybe, J.J. Abrams just rattled my trust in what he can do with the Star Wars movie. And obviously this one's not going to mirror Return of the Jedi. There's no way it can, especially from all the things that we've read. It's going to be very different.
So no Ewoks confirmed?
It'd be great if they just throw one in there, like just for the hell of it. Like, oh wow, now there's a callback, but
just for the memes.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's all I had. You guys got anything else, or?
We've got ideas, but this show's wrapped up, and we can move on to another topic next time.
Yep. So, just for future, we are considering changing the format of the show to being
more popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
No. By the way, we need to make a new shirt.
It's like we're going into our podcast like it's a sports team. Yes. And we're hoping for the best.
You need to make a new shirt for the Nerf Herder Council that says "I am Listener 23."
Right.
We need that. But no, we're actually considering branching out a little bit and actually talking about anything nerdy we feel like talking about. Maybe not just Star Wars, because
basically the front half of this episode was a preview.
Yeah. I mean, we sometimes get into these conversations off air. We're like, man, that'd make a good podcast, but we can't talk about that because it's all Star Wars. But so we might change it up a little bit. Just as a little sneak peek, I do have a recommendation that's not Star Wars, but it is superhero related. So I want to give it to you guys in case you haven't watched this. I am 2 episodes into that Amazon original show, The Boys.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Really?
It's okay. Imagine if superheroes were actually like complete like egotistical dicks, and they were just like superheroes in the public eye, but behind the scenes they were just complete pieces of garbage.
So it's
and controlled by the government.
Superpowers,
pretty much.
All right.
Yes, but I mean, put it this way: like within the first like 10 minutes of the first episode, first of all, it's super gory.
Fun.
It's like if you want to get a taste of how gory it is, go watch the Slipknot music video for their song Soulwave Firth. They just put it out recently, and it's like live footage of Slipknot, but also footage from the show. And I was like, my stepson's favorite band is Slipknot, so he's like, you got to check out the new video. So I'm like, okay, so I check out the video, and there's all these scenes of just like bodies exploding and dudes just ripping people apart. I'm like, what is that? It's my kind of thing. I like gory movies. So I was like, I Googled it. I'm like, what the hell is this from? Is this an actual movie, or it looks too good to just be something that they filmed because Carl Urban's in it. You're not just gonna, and it was from The Boys. So in the first 10 minutes of this thing,
I mean, he is Judge Dredd after all.
Yes, that I love that.
He is the law.
Yes. Insert Anthrax. No, within the first 10 minutes, this dude's standing there with his girlfriend, and the guy's basically the Flash. Like, he runs so fast he's invisible. Explodes his girlfriend because he runs right through her. So imagine taking like a big, huge balloon and filling it with like chunks of a body and a crap load of fake blood, and just that happens. I was like, oh, he's left standing there just holding her hands like only from the wrist to the fingertips. And I was like, oh my God. And then like the they hire this new superhero because the main group of superheroes, like imagine it's the Avengers, but they're called the Seven.
Okay.
And one, I think, retires or something. So they put out this worldwide call. There's only like 200 superheroes in the world or whatever, but they hire this girl. And, she's a cute blonde or whatever. And so she goes up to the headquarters the first time and she's talking to this one other superhero. And she ends up telling him that, I had a crush on you when I was a little girl. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, he whips his, he drops his pants and ends up making her,
prove it.
Yes. And so like it cuts to a scene later where she's in the bathroom throwing up and she comes out of the stall and makeup's running down her face and everything. And so, this happens within like the first 10, 15 minutes of the first episode. I'm like, this show is awesome. Imagine
wow.
Imagine how good the Avengers are. Then imagine flip that to if it's like super dark.
It's everything
That's
you
what it
imagine
is.
what really would have happened with the Avengers.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And I'm like watching this, like, this is awesome. Like, what an interesting take on this.
You're like, Tony Stark is a dick, but he would have been way worse.
Yeah,
than this.
seriously.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
here.
and it's like there's the main guy of the Seven. It's called the Homelander, and he's supposed to be like the Captain America, and they say like he's incorruptible, and so the whole episode you're going like, yeah, he's just the good guy. But then at the end, he blows up a guy's private jet with this guy and his son on it because the guy tried to blackmail the company that runs the Seven, and you're like, what is that? So it's just, I highly recommend it if you're. It's very dark and it's gory, but I am loving it. So it's right up my alley. So there's my recommendation. But
Awesome.
So yeah, check it out. But all right, well, on that note, we will close up shop. Thanks everybody for checking out another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. We are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. You can get your official Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. I got more compliments on my Nerf Herder Council shirt this week. People love my Nerf Herder Council stuff, so I think I'm going to order more and only wear those.
Nice.
But anyway, you can find us anywhere you listen to your podcasts: Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Spotify. You can find all of our episodes on YouTube if you're on there. The website is nerfherdercouncil.com. We are also on Facebook. You can email us directly, nerfherdercouncil@gmail.com, or you can interact with us directly on our Twitter page, which is @NHC Podcast. So once again, I'm your host, JT, @DogPoundJedi. He's AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
He is Steve.
At JSteve1005.
And we will catch you next time. Thanks for being patient, everybody.
Bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.